Hola and welcome to today's Pro-Spanish lesson. As always, we'll start from the ground and work our way up. So this lesson will be completely accessible for beginners as well. Okay, so we're going to start off with Es un problema complicado. Es un problema complicado. More advanced learners will know this straight away. Beginners will be able to guess it. What do you think? Es un problema complicado means un problema complicado. It's a complicated problem. A complicated problem. So we can see that in Spanish the describing comes after. So this is a problem complicated. It's a problem complicated. So the describing word comes after. It's a complicated problem. It's a problem complicated. How would we just say it's complicated? Es complicado. Es complicado. How would we say it's a problem? Es un problema. Es un problema. And incidentally, if you're completely new to Pro-Spanish, make sure you pause the video to give yourself some thinking time after I've asked a question. So it's a problem, es un problema. If you want to say it's not, it's no at the beginning. So how would you say it's not a complicated problem? No es un problema complicado. No es un problema complicado. If you want to say I have in Spanish, it's tengo, tengo, tengo. So tengo, I have. Don't make the mistake of saying it like the school children do, which is tango. That's how they initially say it. It's tengo, tengo, I have. How would you say I have a complicated problem? What would that be? Tengo un problema complicado. Tengo un problema complicado. How about just saying, I have a problem? What would that be? I have a problem. Tengo un problema. Tengo un problema. I have a problem. How would you say, I don't have a problem? I don't have a problem. What would that be? No tengo un problema. No tengo un problema. Okay, the word for something in Spanish, something is algo. Algo. How would you say, I have something? I have something. What would that be? Tengo algo. Tengo algo. How would you say, going back to our initial sentence where we learnt it's a complicated problem, how would you say it's something complicated? How would you say that? It's something complicated. Es algo complicado. Es algo complicado. How would you say, I have something complicated? I have something complicated. What would that be? Tengo algo complicado. Tengo algo complicado. How would you say, I have a problem? It's something complicated. How about that? I have a problem. It's something complicated. What would that be? Tengo un problema. Es algo complicado. Tengo un problema. Es algo complicado. And we'll just pause there for a second while I mention the Pro-Spanish Levels 1 to 6 course, which is available for download at prospanish.co.uk, and this takes the complete beginner right up to a conversational level of Spanish in nice, easy steps. Okay, the word in Spanish for to do, well actually it's to do and to make. It's the same word. Hacer, H-A-C-E-R, hacer. Hacer is to do or to make. Hacer. How would you say to do something? To do something. What would that be? Hacer algo. Hacer algo. How would you say to do something complicated? To do something complicated. What would that be? Hacer algo complicado. Hacer algo complicado. What about if we want to say, I have to do something? I have to do something. What would that be? I have to do something. Now we might think, okay, let's just put the words we've got so far. I have, tengo. Hacer, to do something, algo. Tengo, hacer, algo. Okay, and that sounds right. But in Spanish, if you want to say I have to, as in I must, we use tengo que. That que there, we don't have to get too hung up on the grammar, but it's the little bit that tells us that we're talking about having to do something, and in this particular structure you can think of it as representing the to, as in the must, the having to do something. Either way, just remember the phrase tengo que is I have to, and then whatever you're having to do. So how would you say I have to do something? Tengo que hacer algo. Tengo que hacer algo. So I have to do something. Tengo que hacer algo. And that would be the same for any doing word, any verb. So to say to see is ver, V-E-R, ver. How would you say? I have to see something. I have to see something. Tengo que ver algo. Tengo que ver algo. I have to see something. Tengo que ver algo. What about if we want to say, I have something to do? I have something to do. We're going to have all the same words as if we were saying, I have to do something. In English, the word order has just changed, so we'll change it in Spanish as well. We still need the que in there, because we're talking about something that I need to do, that I have to do. So how would you say, I have something to do? What would that be? Tengo algo que hacer. Tengo algo que hacer. And you might think it should just be tengo algo hacer. I have something to do. But remember, our expression needed tengo que. And that que shifts along. So tengo algo que hacer. I have something to do. If you remember, our word for to see was ver. Ver. How would you say, I have something to see? I have something to see. What would that be? Tengo algo que ver. Tengo algo que ver. Okay, going back to hacer, to do. How would you say, I have something complicated to do? I have something complicated to do. What would that be? Tengo algo complicado que hacer. Tengo algo complicado que hacer. Okay, so we've got our que in there again, showing us that it's something that we have to do. Tengo algo complicado que hacer. How would you say I have something important to do? I have something important to do. What would that be? And the word for important is very straightforward. It's importante. Same as in English, but with an E on the end. Importante. So how would you say, I have something important to do? Tengo algo importante que hacer. Tengo algo importante que hacer. The word in Spanish for a lot or much is mucho. Mucho. So mucho, very much like much, means much or a lot. Mucho. How would you say, I have a lot? Tengo mucho. Tengo mucho. How would you say, I have a lot to do? I have a lot to do. What would that be? Tengo mucho que hacer. Tengo mucho que hacer. How would you say, I don't have much to do? I don't have much to do. What would that be? No tengo mucho que hacer. No tengo mucho que hacer. Okay, so this concept of tengo algo que hacer. I have something to do. Tengo mucho que hacer. We can extend this to when we're saying there is a lot to do, or there isn't a lot to do, or there is something to do, or there is nothing to do. The word for there is I. H-A-Y. I. There is. I. How would you say there's a problem? Hay un problema. Hay un problema. How would you say there is something complicated? Hay algo complicado. Hay algo complicado. How would you say there is a lot, there is much to do? There is a lot to do. How would we say that? Hay mucho que hacer. So follow from our structure with tengo mucho que hacer. I have a lot to do. There is a lot to do. Hay mucho que hacer. Hay mucho que hacer. How would you say there's not much to do? There's not much to do. What would that be? No hay mucho que hacer. No hay mucho que hacer. How would you say there's not much to see? There's not much to see in this town. What would that be? There's not much to see. No hay mucho que ver. No hay mucho que ver. No hay mucho que ver. There's not much to see. How would you say there is something important to see? There is something important to see. What would that be? Hay algo importante que ver. Hay algo importante que ver. There's something important to see. The word for to say in Spanish, to say, is decir. Decir. D-E-C-I-R. Decir. Decir. How would you say, I have something to say? I have something to say. What would that be? Tengo algo que decir. Tengo algo que decir. How would you say, I have a lot to say? Or I have much to say. What would that be? Tengo mucho que decir. Tengo mucho que decir. How about there's not much to say? How about that? There's not much to say. What would that be? No hay mucho que decir. No hay mucho que decir. And that concludes today's ProSpanish lesson. As mentioned before, if you're serious about becoming a confident and a fluent speaker of Spanish, head over to prospanish.co.uk. There you can download the full levels 1 to 6 conversation course. You can also read comments from existing users, and of course you can post your own questions there as well.